Hi, and welcome to Dr. Sean Says. Let's scale it, a major expedition. Today, we are going to talk about how to construct the major scale.
The major scale? Is that some kind of big contraption we use to weigh stuff? Is it some kind of fish? Am I going to scale a mountain?
No, not those kinds of scales. I'm talking about a specific pattern of whole and half steps that create one of the most common arrangements of pitches in all of Western European style music.
Whole steps? Wait just one moment there, Dr. Sean. I've only heard about half steps. What's going on here?
Don't worry, a whole step is just two half steps put together, so a whole step above C would be D, because we move two half steps from C to reach D. Make sense?
Okay, I get it. Because two halves make a whole, if we move two half steps from a pitch, we're moving by whole step.
Exactly. As it turns out, we can use whole and half steps to construct the major scale, a common arrangement of pitches used in all sorts of music. Let's take a look. Before we begin, it's important for us to understand what we mean by the word scale with regard to music. A scale refers to a unique collection of pitches, typically arranged in an ascending-descending order and organized around a central pitch for which we usually name the scale, e.g., F major. Today, we're talking about the major scale. Major scales are made up entirely of whole and half steps and are one of the most commonly used scales in a lot of music. When it comes to writing major scales, as long as you keep in mind these three rules, you'll be good to go. First, major scales will use one of every letter name. Whatever pitch you begin with, you'll need to cycle through the musical alphabet one at a time to make sure you use one pitch of every letter name. Second, major scales will either use sharps or flats, never both. Third, all major scales will use the same pattern of whole and half steps. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And that's all! It doesn't matter with what pitch you start. If you follow these three guidelines, you will be able to write and recognize any major scale. Wow!
That sounds easy enough, but I need to see something practical.
Great idea. Let's construct a few major scales so you can see these guidelines in practice. First off, let's keep those guidelines on screen. Next up, let's build these scales using a keyboard and a staff simultaneously. That way we can see how it all fits together in the big picture. Okay, great. Let's get started. How about we start with G major? Let's apply the guidelines. First, we need one of every letter name. We can start by placing note heads on all of the lines and spaces until we get back to G to ensure we use one of every letter name. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Next, we know we can use either sharps or flats, but not both. So when we apply the pattern of whole and half steps, we'll have to keep that in mind. Now, let's apply the pattern of whole and half steps. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. We can use the keyboard to help us figure out the right pitches by counting one key for half steps and two keys for whole steps. Let's figure it out. Start with a whole step from G, also called scale degree 1 because it's the pitch for which we name the scale.
A whole step above G is A, because it's two keys to the right from G.
Exactly. Now we need another whole step from A, which leads us to B.
Now we need a half step, and that's only one key up from B, so that means the next pitch is C.
Right, now we need another whole step from C, or D.
Next up is E, because that's a whole step above D.
We need one more whole step, which leads us to this black key here. But which pitch should we pick? F sharp or G flat?
The choice is obvious, Dr. Sean. It has to be F sharp because we need to follow rule number 1 of every letter name. If we pick G flat, we'll have 2 pitches with the letter name G, but none with F. Get it together!
Right you are. Brilliant! We need F sharp and not G flat because we need 1 pitch for every letter name in major scales. The final half step will bring us back to G. We number each member of the scale starting from the bottom and going up until we repeat the original pitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to 1. When we play these pitches in order from bottom to top, we hear the familiar sound of the major scale. We usually put a little caret over the number to mean scale degree so as not to be confused with other situations involving numbers. Let's build another scale, this time using bass clef. How about F major?
Okay, so first up we should make sure we use 1 of every letter name. That means starting and ending on F and moving through the musical alphabet in order. G, A, B, C, D, E, F.
Right. Then we need to make sure we follow the pattern of whole and half steps, keeping in mind that we will use either sharps or flats, but not both. Let's do that. F whole step to G. Whole step to A. Half step to B flat because we need 1 of every letter name. Whole step to C. Whole step to D. Whole step to E. Then a half step back to F.
Wow, that clears up a lot. Thanks, Dr. Sean.
My pleasure. Major scales are used throughout a wide variety of musical styles, from 18th and 19th century European music through contemporary popular styles. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date on what Dr. Sean says. That's all for now. Take care, folks.